Welcome back to the Fan Forum. I'm Mark. Hitch is actually still in Josh Allen's backyard right now. Um, I can't get into what he's doing or why he's there, but he's just not available tonight. So I kind of decided to hop on here real quick. I want to highlight some observations that I made at the game. If you were listening last week, you know I took my son to the game. Um, it was an amazing experience. I would like to compliment the Buffalo Bills fans for being awesome. They were just great people. They were so complimentary of the Lions. Um, I can understand why the Bills Mafia is a thing. It's just as good as the Lions, man. Like Bills Mafia and One Pride. I would love to say if we see them in a Super Bowl, um, would probably be the most fun, positive pregame and postgame environment you'll ever be a part of. Um, so kudos to them. Um, they came into Ford Field. They exposed um, our fresh face, our giddiness, our new excited grit, our I don't want to say our 15 minutes in fame because this isn't just out of nowhere. This has been coming, but we're a little bit more what a little bit more green. How do I say when it comes to being a um, primetime team? I'll give you an example. We opened the season up last year against Kansas City, and nobody expects us to beat Kansas City. We beat Kansas City, right? Like I said, we kind of do really well in the heel, the underdog, the villain. We don't do well as the sweetheart team. That's the role we played. It was really cool to be a sweetheart team. It was really, really fun to be there for the experience. But I like being the bad guy. I like playing the role of the underdog. I like playing the nobody gives a shit about us role. That's what Buffalo played when they came to Ford Field. It's almost like nobody even remembered we were playing the Bills. You didn't think that Josh Allen and the Bills were coming to town. It just looked like some team was coming to play us. And you had the black uniforms. You had all the cool lights. You had the cool music. You had the cool hype videos. You had everything about it. But unfortunately, you didn't have the right game plan. And I think that's what it came down to. I'm not really saying the better team won. I'm saying the better game plan won. I think the teams are very comparable. I'm sorry. There's a big difference as far as the style of quarterback play between Josh Allen and Jared Goff, but from an effectiveness, from a leader, from a just all around top tier level quarterback, they bring the same energy to the table. They bring the same "I want to play with that guy" mentality to the table. But Buffalo knows who they are more than we do. We started the season off as a team that attacks the quarterback, knocks you upside the head when we tackle you. And that was our first, that was our 1A identity. And we'd start the game out like that. And then we had this other kind of Jekyll and Hyde where we can also be this crazy high scoring potent offense where we're putting up 42, 48, etc. Jared Goff can throw 5 touchdowns. Jared Goff can throw for 500 yards. But he also can win a game where he throws for 5 interceptions, right? So that's what I mean when we were in the first half of the season, that was our identity. We were more of a defense first, get to the quarterback. And who am I kidding? If Aiden Hutchinson were still playing right now in this season, that still would be our identity. He was on path for Defensive Player of the Year. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. So now I need to rethink about this as a Lions fan and say, okay, Buffalo had the better game plan. So what's our game plan? What would our game plan look like, right? It wouldn't have looked scripted, that's for sure, because you're going to have to convince me that the first entire half wasn't scripted. It looked so flat. It looked so predictable. It just didn't look like the Lions. It just looked like a generic offense. And it really pissed me off because the offensive line was protecting fairly well in the first. It just seemed like they schemed better for us. They had a better game plan against us, right? I didn't see wide receivers getting dominated at the line of scrimmage. I just saw linebackers that knew where we were going to be, where the ball was going to be, I should say. I saw corners and I saw defensive ends just being in position to make sure that the play that they almost seemed like we knew we were calling would be ineffective, and it was. Killed the momentum. Took away that run first, pass later offensive game plan that we're so used to, that we've almost taken for granted. I can't tell you how many games I've started off with just saying, run the ball. Yeah, just run the ball. Yeah, just run the ball. And then, go to your play action. It sounds so simple, but it just was a little too late. Jake Bates missing that field goal seems so strange. Out of character. That offside or that onside kick that we tried, where I don't ever think I've seen an onside kick just go right into someone's hands and the ball ends up on the 5. It was, I guess you could say that game was just a big piece of humble pie, as corny as that sounds. I really was almost ready for it to be over. We're sitting there and Jason just looked at me before halftime and said, man, I don't think this is winnable. And he wasn't wrong. It kind of just, at halftime, I kind of figured, let's just end this game as close as we can, right? And that's exactly what happened. I mean, to the last couple seconds, we were standing there to the last second watching them score. There's no possible mathematical way that they could have won, right? But they were still going to put those points up just to kind of close the gap a little bit. So when you go look back on the score and you see how close it was, you really don't think about how the game started, because that was really just where everything went down, was that first quarter. So, all right, we're done with that. I called it. We knew the Bills were going to beat us. We're 12-2. Let's move on. How do you move on with all these injuries? It's almost like we get humbled up with a loss after an 11-game win streak, which is pretty cool. We get handed a bevy of injuries. Lee McNeil's out with an ACL. David Montgomery's out with an MCL. Carlton Davis III is out with a jaw injury. It's getting hard to just say next man up and say, okay, great. I can't even lie to you. It will be next man up, and I still think there's somebody out there that's going to benefit from these injuries, but I think it's going to have to, Aaron Glenn is really going to have to switch his game plan up. And I think that first starts with Brian Branch. How are we going to use Brian Branch right now? It's no secret that there's a large drop-off from our starting corners all the way down to 2 and 3, right? So we use Brian Branch as a safety. We all know that, but he can be flexed out to play a corner position. He's awesome in man coverage. But when you take him out of the safety position, now you're losing your ball hawk over the middle, which we know we have Kirby Joseph in, but now we're losing the effectivity game. Do you risk taking one player out of one position and having two dominant ball hawk safeties to slide a corner over to quietly lock down the side, right? Where are you sacrificing quality over quantity? And I don't really know the full answer for that. I think the answer is it's a nice mixture of everybody. I feel like you're going to see Brian Branch in multiple positions. Similar to when you've seen guys like Dan Skipper check in to grab a touchdown and then pass block. No, all kidding aside, I really just think you're going to see a lot of hybrid contributions from this defense. I feel like there's going to be a bend but don't break style for this defense now. We have to kind of change our game plan. This is going to be up on the offense, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so now let's talk the rest of the season. We sit here 12-2. The Bears could not beat the Vikings, which I'm not really surprised about, and we're going to find out. We're going to see them this week. I'm going to get into that in a second, but let's talk strategy right now. We are already in the playoffs. That is something that has been well established. Now, the key is getting us to make sure that we have home field advantage. And it's really not a hard path to the top. Winning out is a very easy option, guys. You look at the teams we're playing. We're playing the Bears. I don't care. They've given up. I don't care if this is a Matt Eberflus or Eberflus list defense. They're garbage. I'm not even going to give them the common courtesy of, well, this is a trap game and they've got something to prove. They literally have nothing to prove. Actually, if they want to prove anything, they need to continue to be a garbage-ass dumpster fire team because something needs to be changed. Obviously, it's going to be the head coach, but I really think that GM's got to go too. He's made a bunch of bonehead-ass moves. We'll see what that ownership does. Truthfully, I could care less. I hope it stays a dumpster fire for the next 75 years because I hate the Bears. I really do. I don't think they deserve anything good for that football team. I got way more respect for the Packers. And like I said, the Vikings aren't even real. So let's talk about the Vikings real quick. You've got a Sam Darnold-led Vikings team that has a very respectful record. They've been beating teams, but they're not doing it with a punch in the mouth. They have a great defense. They really do. They got the number one defense right now, in my opinion. But it's the back end of the season. And although defenses win you championships, it's going to take a lot for this Vikings team to shoot out these Lions. Because when we play Minnesota, we're going to be coming in with a shootout mentality. And I think that's how we're going to go to every team. You watched us get kind of embarrassed at home on a 4:00 game with the Bills. All right, yeah. Game's over. The winning streak's over. We could care less. We're just going to be coming into your town knocking you around. So we're going to go to Soldier Field. And we've got to go. Let's pull this up real quick so I don't shoot myself in the foot again. So we're going to go to Soldier Field. We're going to go to out in San Francisco. And then we end the season at home with the Vikings. That's a 3-game win out right there, in my opinion. I'm really not afraid of that because the teams that we're playing are not what we just played. They're not AFC teams that we haven't seen in years. San Francisco, that's personal. That's an NFC North rematch game. That's we're on top now. You're going to lose this one, and we're not even going to let it come close. I really think that's a game where they're going to be blood just dripping down from their mouth. The Bears, do you really think we're going to let you beat us? I don't even think we're going to let you score more than 10 points. I don't want that to happen. That's a domination game. That's a game that Kendor Vildor should have 28 interceptions. Like that is a game where I want to wreak havoc. Now the Vikings game. That's the game where Dan Campbell said it. Now he said it for every game. He just cares if we win by 1. He said, "I don't care if we put 50 yards for the whole 50 yards up for the whole game as long as we win by 1." Right? That to me, that's the Vikings game. That's the win by 1 game. Now thinking about the Vikings, they're 12-2, but let's look at their schedule. Their schedule's a little bit different. They've got to go play in Seattle, and then they've got Green Bay coming into them. Now, those are 2 teams that, if you look at it, Chicago, San Francisco, or would you rather see Green Bay or Seattle right now? Seattle at home, I don't care who your quarterback is, end of the season. That's a nasty fan base. So it's going to be a fun next couple games because either way you cut it, we're in the playoffs. Think about that. When's the last time we could say, this doesn't matter, we're already in the playoffs? Okay, so right now we're just playing for home field advantage. That's it. So let's reset all of our expectations. Let's not hit the panic meter on these injuries because Jared Goff, Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, Taylor Decker, Penny Sewell, Dan Skipper, J-Mo, Gibbs, Laporta, Brock Wright, Tim Patrick, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are a lot of reasons, healthy reasons, why you should be very, very excited and very optimistic about finishing this out. Not to mention that not all, but some of these injuries, these guys will come back into the playoffs. So the sooner you get all this injury stuff out of our heads, the quicker we can live in reality and start watching guys like Gibbs. I mean, his production will go up. You know, in just the last couple games when Montgomery was out before, we saw his production go up. So, you know, this just becomes a time where you got to believe in your coach. Because when you get to these winning seasons where you're facing adversity, this is what crosses you over that line. This is why Andy Reid does what he does with Kansas City. Because this is just the kind of coach he is, right? There's a lot of times that I've seen Kansas City get knocked down, lose players. Somehow that makes them stronger. And I stopped trying to do this Chiefs comparison. Okay, so we're going to change it up real quick. What I want to do is I want to go over some highlights real quick. See, what a mismatch. You've got Ty Johnson on a linebacker. Look how much time he has in the pocket. You can't let that happen. Look at that. How disgusting is that? Another one, Ty Johnson. And of course the announcers call it. Prime example of what not to do. Dan Skipper, man, I hope they gave him a game ball even though it was a loss. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Kevin Zeitler. Look at just how much time Allen has. Wide open. Not a single person was even anticipating Josh Allen. Okay, we've seen enough of that. You get what I'm saying, right? Unprepared. Not prepared. Terrible preparation. Didn't even watch game tape. I don't know what you want to call that. All I know is that's not what we're going to see when it comes to Chicago. All right? Chicago is a much, 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 much different looking team. Although I still think that this is a game where Lions fans will get a little bit of redemption, a little bit more comfortable feeling, guys, because we're going to win out. We're only going to lose these two. We were only going to lose these 2 games. So, well, with that being said, I just want to encourage everybody to like and subscribe to the Spotify. You can find us on Spotify at Detroit Lions Fan Forum. And then our YouTube is at Detroit Lions FF on YouTube. And I'm going to put it up here on the screen just in case anybody is still watching and wants to pay attention. That is how you find us on YouTube. please like us, please subscribe us, please hit the notification button. It really means a lot to me, means a lot to Hitch. I promise he's going to be back on soon, as soon as we can get him. We're going to try to take him, I think, through Canada, and then bring him in that way. But currently, right now, he's in Buffalo. And from what I understand, he's even closer to Josh Allen's back door than he was before. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. One Pride, go Lions, and peace.